welcome back. My name is Alana and today I'm going to show you my TBR cart. So I recently saw Steph from Novelty Corner do this on her channel and I thought, great idea, hold myself accountable, let's try it as well. So I'll leave her video link down below, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you what's on my TBR cart or to be read cart. So yes, I have an entire cart that I got from IKEA, I think it was, full of unread books. Now, I put them on the cart because then I like to be able to say that anything that is on my shelves, a couple of shelves that you can see here, has actually been read. Now, I have 3 full shelves that go upwards and across, and the theory is that all of those books should then have been read. Unread goes on the cart, makes sense. The problem is when the cart starts to get full and I'm not picking books off of it, then we have issues. So some of these books have been on the cart for a long time now, a couple of years at least, and some of them are brand new. I'm going to go through them and also point out why I organize it, how I organize it, and what else is behind the books as well. So let's get into it. So behind the books, I actually have my stash of book sleeves that I've got from various subscription boxes, these two and this one, and then one that I purchased myself which has little foxes on it. Not pictured here is the book sleeve that I actually use the most, and that's because it has a little clippy tab on it. That one's by Trim and Thread. I'll leave their website link down below. They are my pick of the bunch. Love them very much, but these are all my backups. They're great for when I travel and I just need to chuck a couple of books in my bag, and yeah, love them. Super handy thing for a book nerd to have. The other thing I have here was a little activity that I did during lockdown in 2021, and that was a paint your own clutch kit. So this is a little clutch, a wallet if you will, and I actually painted this. So this is my very own design. I got sent the paint kit, the blank canvas, and then once I completed it, I sent it back to the artist who then had it made into what it is now, which is awesome. This came from Holly Gaia Art, who I will also leave in the description down below. So those were the random things that I have on my cart. Now onto the books. I like to roughly say that the first shelf on my cart are the things that I'm most excited to read. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that one down there and we'll get to that later. Before we get into it, I will say the cart does not get emptied a whole lot. I have never seen this empty since I've bought it, and that's because I work in a bookstore. So I see new things come in regularly. I see all the new shiny releases, I see the backlisted titles that continually sell well, and I see the ARCs or advanced reader copies that come in and demand our attentions because shiny, new, early, whatnot. So I'm not as on top of this cart as I would like to be, but that's just the reality that I live in, so that's why it's full. Let's reserve judgment. So starting from the left, we have, funnily enough, the ARC copy of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I have not read anything by this author before. They of course wrote The Martian and Artemis, I think. I've heard really good things about The Martian, and I've heard that this is meant to be similar to that again, and that Artemis kind of slipped away from that for a little bit, but now he's back, and he's back to brilliant. So I'm keen to read this, but I need to be in the mood for a heavy sci-fi novel. And this one is heavy sci-fi. I'm pretty sure this one follows a main character who wakes up with amnesia, and he wakes up in a sci-fi type setting. Let's see. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmate's dead, his memories fuzzily returning. Rylan realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. So it sounds amazing, and I've heard great things from the people that I watch that have reviewed this so far, but I just need to be in the mood. So excited for this. Next along we have Arthurian Legends by Rosalind Curvin. I have read other things by this author before, again in the mythology, fairy tale type setting. This is one that I've actually had on the cart for a very long time, and I'm actually part the way through. I picked this up for a readathon a couple of years ago. And while I enjoy it in bits and pieces, it's got lovely illustration plates in it, and it does go through the different legends of King Arthur. While I enjoy it in little bits and pieces, it's not something that I can just binge read. Therefore, I have not picked it up since I got halfway through it last time. I'm just gonna go out and say that I am a massive mood reader, so planned TBRs don't work for me, which is another reason why some of these have been on the cart for a while. One day I will feel like reading them, but I don't know when that day will be. Then we have Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. This is a Graceling Realm novel, number 4 in the series. I've read books 1 through to 3, but I want to reread the series before I get to this one. So I've actually recently just finished rereading Graceling, the first novel, so I'm on my way to being closer to reading this. I also love this cover. It's beautiful. And the end papers? Those are foxes in a maze. I love that. And there's a fox on the cover. Okay, this is beautiful. I love it very much. Also, Graceling is a high fantasy series. I would put it as new adult, and it's one of my favorite series ever. I just need to find the time to reread the others before I delve into that. Then we have a newer addition to the cart, and that is The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. Again, fantasy. I can see a map in this one, so definitely fantasy. From what I've heard and seen of this one so far, we've got the roles of fate. We've got a person who is priestess, assassin, traitor. It's stylish, classy, and timeless. I've just seen this around and I really think that it's going to be one that I love. I'm going into this one purposely not knowing a lot about it so that it feels even more epic when I read it. But if you've read this one and you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below because it might push me to read it sooner. Next up, Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. I've seen this one everywhere. This one is majorly hyped and also a newer addition to the cart. All I know about this one is there are twins called Roger and Dodger, which is a very niche naming choice, and something about them potentially becoming gods or something like that. I don't know. It sounds kind of cool, and I haven't read from this author before, and I know I need to rectify that immediately because they are a very popular author. Then we have The Friend Scheme by Kale Dietrich. I grabbed this one from work because this author has co-written a book with one of my favorite authors, Sophie Gonzalez, and they co-wrote If This Gets Out. I've loved everything by her. I want to read the one that they co-wrote, and then that made me interested to see what he's put out by himself. I'm pretty sure this one is teen fiction. I'm pretty sure it is gay as well, and I'm pretty sure I'm super excited to read it. Then we have the intensely popular The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I have read Second First Impressions by this author and adored it. This has just come out as the movie in December, so a couple of months ago, and it just says he's the one she loves to hate. So it's a hate to love romance. Pretty sure, definitely sure. I've seen a lot of people talking about this. This one actually should be an easy binge when I feel like that. So it's good to have a little light romance here and there as well. Then I have The Crash of Hennington by Patrick Ness. This has been on my cart for a while, but the reason why I got this was because I own a lot of other novels by this author. He is one of my favorite authors of all time. Do yourself a favor, go read something by him. No two books of his are the same though, and I know that this is going to be just as weird and brilliant as his other things. I think this is one of his earlier novels. It says here that this was written in 2003, and it just sounds like a weird, good time. This is fiction. He also always includes a dash of, what's it called? Is it fantasy realism or something like that? There's always some sort of magic within his regular fiction. So again, when I feel like it. Then we have another throwback, and that is a book by Sarah Dessen. This is called The Rest of the Story. This is teen fiction, I'm fairly sure. I read a lot from this author when I was a young reader, and I adored what I was picking up from her. I actually still have an older one of hers along for the ride on my shelves. I'm loving the difference in covers too, because this is the covers I grew up with, which is like flowers and all sorts, and now we're going more serious, minimalistic. But anyway, adored her when I was younger, and I want to see how I feel about her reading her as an adult. In this one, we're following main character Emma, who doesn't remember a lot about her mother, who died when she was 12, but she does remember her mum's stories about the big lake. And now that it's just her and her dad, I think she goes back to visit this favourite setting of her mum's, and I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot of family history along the way. And then the two books on the end of the first shelf are also arcs from work. These are middle grade ones, which I should have read by now. Hopefully I get to them. We have The Boy Who Stepped Through Time by Anna Sidor. I have a colleague who loved this book, so I do plan on getting to this one. Hopefully it's a quick read. In this one we have a boy who time travels somehow from his regular life back to Roman age, and it's kind of the differences that he sees and all of that. So love that element, excited. And then we have Seven Wetherell Way by Samantha Ellen Bound. This is being compared to Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. Very whimsy, same age bracket, that kind of 12-year-old age. So yeah, this came out in October and this one came out in June of 2021. So I'm late to the party, but they're on my radar. Okay, moving down to the second shelf, we have the very popular Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I tried to read this one. I still have my bookmark in it. I got up to chapter 3 and I kind of checked out of it, but I've recently had a friend tell me that this is up there in the best books that she's ever read, so I need to give this one a go again. This is more literary fiction though, and I really have to be in the mind frame to read literary fiction, and I'm not there yet, but it's still on the cart. It's still actively thought about. There we go. We have White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. This is another one that I am partway through and still actively thinking about. This bottom shelf is kind of actively thinking about, not as thought about as this, but also not yet secluded to the bottom shelf. But essentially it's Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. So a good book to pick up and educate yourself with, or at least that's what I've heard so far. I've got to read it and get my own opinions on it. Then we have two oldies that fall into a similar category, and that is Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton and Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. These are teen fantasy, and I asked for these back when I was really into YA fantasy. I have since kind of stepped away. I haven't completely left the genre. I still dabble here and there, but I don't pick the books up as much. But I've read To Kill a Kingdom by this author and really enjoyed it, so could enjoy this one. And Rebel of the Sands, I got this one back when this was very hyped on Bookstagram, so it must be doing something right if it was everywhere. I think this one is loosely based off 1001 Nights retelling, I don't know, but those are those two. Intermission while we move down a little bit. We have got The Surprising Power of a Good Dumpling by Wei Chim. This was on my radar because it won a category in the Indie Bookseller Awards, which is where all the independent bookstores vote on their favourite books of that year. I have had a colleague who really enjoyed this one and said it's terrific as well. This is teen fiction. Again, I've read the first 6 pages and I will continue it at some point. Next up is Dig by A.S. King. This one got put on my radar by Kayla from Books and Lala here on YouTube. I saw her speaking about this author and how she's read everything by them, and I thought I'd better give them a go. Looking back, I think she said this is not the one to start on, but this is what I have. So one day I will. I think this is teen fiction and it sounds like a generational family story. And yeah, I love this cover. It's very beautiful. I don't know a lot about this. I've only heard that it's weird, but in a good way. I also bought that one and the next book when I was considering doing a reading vlog on reading my favorite or most watched booktubers' favorite books. And that's why this one's on here too. This is On Lunar Time by Amber Crawley. This one was on Murphy's picks. So Murphy Napier loved this one, and it's a short one and I don't know much about it. I think it's fantasy. Let's see. Vanessa Marshall has spent her life in and out of foster care with only a vague recollection of the woman that left her behind. When she receives a strange letter from her mother 3 weeks before her 18th birthday, Vanessa knows it's only shot of finding her real family. Journals written by women who took the same time-altering jump help Vanessa realize that the mystery of her mother's life spans generations and is far more complex than she could have ever dreamed. There you go. Mysterious. But yeah, safe to say that video never saw the light of day because, again, planned TBRs, they're not my friends. So I still have the books to read, I just never produced the content. We have got a couple more teen fiction picks. Again, not reading as much teen fiction as I used to. We have Catching Stars by Kayla Keenan, which this character reminds me of Inej from Six of Crows, just looking at the cover here. I love the cover. I think this was an extra in a subscription box that a friend gave me at one point. Couldn't tell you much else about it except for that I'm pretty sure a witch with powerful abilities. Yeah, this is YA fantasy. And Wake by Amanda Hocking. I've read one other Amanda Hocking book, and I think that was the first book in the trilogy, whatever it is, which is on my shelf somewhere else. I thought I'd try something else by her. This is Mermaids, and at that point in time, when I decided to get this one, I was digging sirens and mermaid tales a lot. There you go. Then we have Stephen Fry's Mythos. Nope. Heroes. He does a series where he retells the myths or the heroes of stories. So this is him doing that. I did an ancient history degree when I went to uni, and this type of stuff interests me, but I never actively pick it up. It's something that I always feel I have to kind of chug through or work through, but I'm always interested to know the tales once they're in my brain. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky relationship with ancient history. I like having the knowledge, it's just putting it into my brain can sometimes feel long and tedious, but Stephen Fry is meant to retell the tales really well, so hopefully one day. Then I have another arc from a while ago, from September 2020 actually. This is The Reckless Afterlife of Harriet Stoker by Lauren James. I know that this author has published a few other things, or at least another book since this one. This is not the final cover. The final cover looks something like this. This is of course out now as well, obviously, but I remember getting this one because it had a really cool premise, and that was when Harriet Stoker dies after falling from a balcony in a long abandoned building, she discovers a group of ghosts, each with a special power. I love powers and abilities, and this is, while this is teen, I feel like it would be very easy to get through. Or at least that's my general assumption, having never read this before. This is actually sounding really interesting now, and I'm wondering if I should put down what I'm currently reading to pick this up. Stay on track. Stay on track. I then have a random Brandon Sanderson book. I am by no means up to this point in his series. This is Arcanium Unbound. I don't even know where this fits in with the rest of his books. I just randomly got given it and thought I want to read from him one day, and I since have. They are over there, but I need to remember where this fits in and if I have to read other things before that. I'm not an ideal Sanderson fan because I don't know all the orders of all his books. He's written a lot. There's a lot. I'll get there one day. I do love his worlds. Ooh, I just flicked to a page and saw Kelsia, who's a character from the first Mistborn book. Okay, I need to finish that series before I get to this. Next up we have All Our Shimmering Skies by Trent Dalton. Trent Dalton is a big indie bookstore pick. His first novel, Boy Swallows Universe, won the Indie Book Awards in the year that it came out, and I have listened to that one via audiobook and I really enjoyed it, so I'm keen to see what happens in this one, although now I feel like I'm definitely late to the party. I'm past all the hype of this one. But this is set in World War II, and I think we follow 3 different perspectives. He writes fiction, but has a really interesting prose style, at least from his first book that I read, and I am intrigued. Again, have to be in the mood for his prose style because it is a little bit, not absurd, it's more all over the place but intentionally done so. Boy Swallows Universe reminded me of some of Marcus Zuzak's book. It packs a punch, it's very emotive, you just have to read it and let it wash over you, and then it makes a whole lot of sense and it's amazing and it works. but you just have to let the story happen to you. I'm wondering if a similar thing will happen with this one. And then the last one on this second shelf is The Nowhere Child by Christian White. I have actually listened to the audiobook of this and I really loved it. So much so that I requested a physical copy for Christmas. And here we are. So I put it on the TBR cart because I do want to reread the physical version and see if I love it just as much. I'm sure I will, but it's interesting to compare reading experiences through the different mediums. And this one is split between Australia and America, and it's a crime novel. Essentially, one day our main character Kim, who is living in Australia, is Australian, gets approached by an American who says, "I'm pretty sure you're my missing sister," who was called Sammy Went. And there was this big missing persons case in America all these years ago when this little girl called Sammy went missing. And this is following along with Kim's story as she travels to America to see if she is that person, if she's not. And it's dual timeline, and I really enjoyed this. This is also the first book that this author has ever published. I've since read their other two novels. I think this is still my favorite one. And then I'm gonna really quickly go through the bottom shelf. Firstly, Jodi Picoult, A Spark of Light. This is one of my friend's favorite Jodi Picoult books. I need to read it. It will be great when I get to it. I do love Jodi Picoult, but not every one of her books is a winner. Again, I just gotta find time for it. This is fiction, regular fiction, and I think it revolves around the rights of pregnant women and things like that. Jodi Picoult always picks a big issue to dissect within her novels. I love her for it, but again, I think it's going to be heavy, and we shall see. Next up, we have The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix. I've never read a Garth Nix before. I've heard this one is a good fun adventure, and I need to get to it, as with the rest of the books on this cart. This one is about this bookselling guild. Merlin is one of the youngest members of a secret society of booksellers with magical powers who police the mythic old world wherever it impinges on the new world, in addition to running several bookshops, of course. I like that. It sounds cute and quirky, and I know that people have enjoyed this one. So, and that tagline, authorized to kill and sell books. I mean, I'm authorized to do one of those things, but not the other one, thank God. Then we have Legend by Marie Lu. I have read the Warcross duology by this author. I enjoyed book 1. I didn't enjoy so much book 2. I thought I'd give her another go. Apparently this is based on a retelling of Les Miserables. I'm pronouncing that terribly. Sorry. But this is very much teen fantasy, I want to say. I think this one might have powers in it. I don't know. I know that there's a murdered brother and a mystery, so, I mean, when I feel like it, I'll feel like it. A couple more arcs for teen fiction. We have The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Tokadula Hall. Again, I think I started this one. I'm not sure how far I got through to it. This is also when I was in my Sirens Sea Voyage phase a couple of years ago, and this came out in September 2020. So it's been out for a while. I love the cover. Didn't get there. Similar with The Dark Lady by Akala. This one's little mini blurb says, a pickpocket with an exceptional gift, a prisoner of extraordinary value, an orphan haunted by dreams of the mysterious Dark Lady. April 2020 is when this came out. It sounds amazing. These sound amazing. You know the story. We have a self-help development type book as well, Winging It by Emma Isaacs. I got given this and it's meant to be all about helping to manifest your dreams and your goals and redefining them and making things actually happen, which is something that I need to do with my writing, and this will hopefully help that. And then Someone Like Me by M.R. Carey. I went through a phase where I was reading everything from this author. They've just come up on my top sci-fi picks. I posted that video, it'll be up here and down here. I love their writing style, and I love how they introduce a fantastical element into everyday life. This one has also been started. This was when I had these really old cards that I used all the time for bookmarks, which has some favorite authors on the front, which I need to update, and my handle name. And this one was a psychological thriller, I think. It says, Liz Kendall wouldn't hurt a fly Even when times are tough, she's devoted to bringing up her kids in a loving home. But there's another side to Liz, one that's dark and malicious. She will do anything to get her way, no matter how extreme. And when her alter ego takes control, the consequences are devastating. Very intriguing, a different genre to the other stuff that's on this cart, and I feel like this would have really good twists in it. There you go. We have a Philippa Gregory called Changeling. I read a lot of Philippa Gregory, but I like her King Henry VIII stuff. This, I don't know when I'm gonna feel like it, but it's set in 1453, so it's set within the time period that I like that she writes about, but I think it follows a 17-year-old main protagonist, so I'm not sure if that's going to change the vibe of the voice or whatnot. It will, of course, different characters, different books, different voices, different tones. But I got the impression, I don't know if it's going to be a flop or not, which is terrible to say. I'm judging a book just based off its cover, which I don't especially like, but I have liked things from this author before. We shall see. Then we have a book that I've had for a while and I got partway through, and that is Surviving the Angel of Death, the true story of a Mengele twin in Auschwitz by Eva Moses Core. I think this has been renamed and repackaged now to maybe the Twins of Auschwitz or something or rather. If I find it, I'll pop the new cover here and the new name here. This was when I was going through a historical fiction World War II era where I had to read all the stories from it. And this one is, like it says, a true account. The way that it's written is very much putting you right there in the scene, and it's from a survivor of the camps. So I need to continue on with this one. I was finding it interesting when I was reading it, but I think I burnt out on World War II stories, and sadly that made me put this down for the time being. But I will get back there. Then we have a random book which I got, which was a blind date with a book type pick. This is The Walking Dead, The Road to Woodbury. I don't know if this is the start of a series or not. I got this from Secret Book Stuff, who are awesome, and I will leave them tagged and I will leave them linked down below. I think this is zombies. I'm pretty sure The Walking Dead is zombies. I've never watched the show, so don't come for me about that. But I need to feel like this. I don't read a lot of zombie stories. One of my favorite sci-fi dystopians is zombie, but I haven't read this one yet, obviously, because it's on the cart. We have another book relating to that reading booktubers favorites video that I never got around to. This one is a pick from Sam, or Thoughts on Tomes. This is Amberlow by Lara Elena Donnelly. This sounded amazing when I saw Sam talking about it, and I will get to it. It says, the heat is on in Amberlow. Meet a smuggler, a dancer, and a spy during a decadent era just before a political coup is about to set the city on fire. I think I've seen this described as Great Gatsby meets Six of Crows. I could be entirely wrong about that, but that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting just from that blurb. Anyway, nightclub, smugglers, crooked cops. Interesting. You saw me push Pride and Prejudice down to the bottom layer just before. This is Jane Austen. I've never read any Jane Austen or any of these classics. Tell me how you feel about that in the comments down below. I started listening to the audiobook of this one, and the voice for the mother was very shrill and very naggy. And I just went, you know what? I don't feel like that right now. So maybe, but maybe also that will get unhauled at some point. I don't know. Then we have a board book, which is just on the cart because I haven't moved it to my shelf yet that has a few picture books. I love Wombat Stew. This is a favorite of mine from when I was younger. It's so good, and this board book is stunning. This is just a case of I need to move it over there. So I should probably do that now, actually. And then I have a middle grade graphic novel called Allergic. This is by Megan Wagner Lloyd and Michelle Me Nutter. This is just a super cute little story, I'm assuming, about a family that gets a dog and the girl's allergic. And I related to that because I also get hay fever and allergic to dust and hair and stuff like that very easily, and other dogs, even though I love them so very much. So I thought this was cute. And also, fun fact about Evie, who is a Basenji. Basenjis are hypoallergenic, which means she doesn't make me sneeze. She has regular short hair, so poodles are hypoallergenic, but they've got like the wiry wool thing. She doesn't have that. She's got regular short hairs, but something in them makes me not sneeze, and I love her for that. So this is not my daily life, thank God, but it is when I go to doggy play dates with my friends and their fur children and I forget to take my antihistamine. This will be read in an afternoon, I'm sure of it. It's going to be a good pick for a readathon when I do another readathon, whenever that happens. So I'm not too worried about this one sitting on there for ages. Having said that, it could also be the case. And finally, we have a Christina Henry novel. This is Horseman. I've read The Ghost Tree by this author and really enjoyed it. I did actually pick this one up recently but didn't feel like it. I feel like a similar thing happened with The Ghost Tree, and that was when I started reading this, the voice was very young and drew me out of the story a fair bit, but I ended up really enjoying that book. So I think the same thing's going to happen with this one. I just didn't have the time or the perseverance to continue with it at that point. So there you go. Those are the books that are on my TBR cart. One day I will look back on this video and probably laugh about the amount of books that are still on my TBR cart in the future that I didn't get through, but that makes this video a good fun reference point to jump off of. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below a book that you've had on your list or on your TBR cart on your shelves for a very long time that has gone unread and why it is so. Like me, it's a time thing or a feeling thing. The mood reader thing really plays a part in it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to chuck a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you in another one. Bye!